YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here. I got a replay for you that I think you'll enjoy. I'm under the name Morbo here, playing as vampire counts, and Joke and Die here is going to play as Bretonnia. I've brought what is essentially a Death Star army, not quite, and I've taken a little bit of liberty to spend a ton of money on Blood Knights, just to see how that turns out, because I want to see how they fare against Bretonnia, who I know will bring a lot of cavalry. The Bretonnian player, in this case, has a pretty decent air contingent, one Pegasus Knight, the Bequist Hippogriff with Luankur on it, and he's also got the Paladin on a Pegasus. But, of course, I'm going to keep my leader on the ground with my blob, my hit point blob. I think Death Star is a weird name for it. Probably Hit Point Sponge would be a better name for it. And then I've got my Blood Knights, very cool looking units, very strong cavalry here, but also very expensive. They look freaking awesome, though. You guys have some sweet skins. So anyway, I got my Blood Knights ready to go. They'll best anything he has on the ground. All he has is Knights of the Realm. And I've got 4 units of Fell Bats, just kind of around the battlefield, luring his different units around. Just kind of swinging around in different directions, hoping to distract and just... Or, sorry, 3 units of Fell Bats. Anyway, I'm just going to move my hit point sponge up into the Bretonnian formation and start to kill his infantry. His arrows right now are of no real concern to me. Fell Bats have multiple uses, and this is one of the many. I can distract the charge of these Knights of the Realm and essentially keep them from getting a better charge bonus, while my Blood Knights are going to go toe-to-toe with them and absolutely wreck them. They will definitely pull some blood out of that one. Here comes the Blood Knights over here. Going to get a really nice charge on the Knights of the Realm. So both those fights will end in my favor, but there's Bretonnian infantry headed in, and I really ought to probably be getting my guys out of here quicker, because I don't want to fight near that infantry. Now over here in this fight, the archers have served a purpose, and their purpose appears to be to kill my Cryptors, and they've done pretty good at it. I'm having to use Invocation of Nehek, and I did make a mistake, and that mistake was I just... I want to say... No, okay, I haven't made any mistakes yet. So I cast Invocation into Heck, and it gets most of my units, but because of my longer formation, some of them are not going to be affected. And you can see me just absolutely breaking apart the Bretonnian line, as expected. My Blood Knights are eventually getting wrapped up, but they did some pretty nice damage to the enemy cavalry, though not quite as much as I would have liked. And they managed to get caught up by infantry because I was busy elsewhere, managing my little blob. And there's a few things that go on. One of them is that Von Karstein has an attack order out here on this fleeing unit, and I didn't put my men in guard formation, which is very important for the hit point sponge, because stuff like this. So now Von Karstein's actually separated out. It's not so much the fact that he's in danger that worries me, as much as I'm not getting the double regen right now. And on top of that, here comes Bequist in with Luankur, going to cause a lot of damage in here. I'm going to use another Invocation of Nehek, which is going to help my men a lot. But the fact that Von Karstein is way off in the battlefield is a huge problem. So my Blood Knights, like I said, they did okay. They killed a pretty large portion of the enemy cavalry. They could have done better had I managed them a little better, but they did all right. But like I said, without the double regen, we're going to see how well the hit point sponge holds up. Von Karstein realizes he is in error and is making his way back towards the battlefield. I'm bringing a unit of Fell Bats in because I see that he's going to try and intercept Von Karstein with Pegasus Knights, and he'll succeed in that, giving Von Karstein a pretty good push. But you're going to see the utility of Fell Bats here. Von Karstein would otherwise be trapped here by the Pegasus Knights, but my Bats can intercept and distract the Knights, and now Von Karstein, slimy as a greased weasel, slips through enemy infantry and is going to make his way back into the blob to try and support the fight. But this fight is not over, not by any means. Because of that mistake, my men have taken a lot more hit point damage than they otherwise would have, and that's not been good for me. The other thing that's really not good for me is these peasant bowmen, which aren't going to do much to my Cairn Wraiths, but they are going to damage my Cryptors. And that's a bad deal for me, because the Cryptors are pretty important, because they dish the damage in this hit point sponge type formation. And this is going to be a drawn out exercise. The Bretonnian units also have a bonus versus large, coupling that with the units with arrows that remain, it actually gets to be pretty dangerous for me, mostly for my Cryptors. But if the Cryptors are removed, the fight will start to swing against me because the Cryptors poison the enemy units and foul their performance on the battlefield. So it's very important to have the Cryptors there. My men, though, are far from done. Like I said, this formation can tank out an absurd amount of damage, and it is. But there's a ton of Bretonnians here, almost double the number of my men. This is probably going to be my last invocation in the Heck, as you can see from the power reserves here. So it's going to have a pretty good effect on my men. But, I mean, the damage that's been done to my Cryptors is trouble. I don't have a way to deal with these archers. Having a unit of fell bats left would have definitely been helpful at this point. But, I mean, the bigger problem here, I mean, the bowmen are a problem, but it's the fact that I don't have any more invocation in the Heck left, and because von Karstein was separated for so long, it certainly let my men get more damage than they otherwise should have. So it's leaving them in a somewhat bad situation. But we'll see. Will the complete encirclement the Bretonnians have made pay off, or will my vampires fight their way through it? It's going to be relatively close. And the reason why I was playing with the vampires today is because I continually see comments in my comment section stating that the vampires aren't the best. It's just that people don't know how to play against them. That's, I mean, again, this is all opinion, and that's someone else's opinion. My opinion is that that opinion is wrong. The vampires, again, in my view, are definitely the best faction. And if you take them and lose, then it was your fault. Because they have tools to deal with every other faction, and that's something that not every other faction can say. Their magic also is just all around good against any other faction, which is, again, something that not every other faction can say. So I feel like the vampires are assuredly the best faction in the game. They have the most tools, they have the most effective magic right now, and they have some of the most potent lord combinations whenever you put the Necromancer together with von Karstein. And in my mind, they have a good mix of mounts. Their only weakness is they have no skirmishing. But when you see the absurd amount of damage that my men can tank here, the skirmishing isn't even that important. Check out Bequist there, just spilling blood absolutely everywhere. I mean, this is a violent fight here. My Cairn Wraiths there. The Cairn Wraiths are pretty good. They don't do a whole lot unless it's against heavily armored units, but they are good at tanking physical damage resistance, which is what they've done in this case. I honestly probably should have tried to slither a Cairn Wraith out of combat and go kill some of these bowmen, but it could have gotten exposed at the same time too. So I just left my guys circled up to see if they could fight their way out of this. Let's take a look at what's going on. So my Cryptors are about to bite the dust, and this is bad for me because they're keeping the attack and defense of the enemy units down. The Necromancer, though, and von Karstein, you can see, are pretty much almost untouched because there's really not enough way for the Bretonnians to deal damage here, but these bowmen actually going to pay off here, as they really were the key reason why my Cryptors are gone. If they hadn't had those bowmen, I don't think that my Cryptors would have taken enough damage. And again, though, this fight's not quite over. It's definitely in the favor of the Bretonnians. But the vampires, like I said, they go down slowly and not without having absorbed a lot of damage. So all that's left is some Cairn Wraiths, but you can see a bit of crumbling going on. I've also got von Karstein, and I believe my Necromancer is finally starting to kick the bucket. But von Karstein's still relatively untouched, but it looks like the bows are focusing on the Necromancer, which is a good choice. He's going to be a little more vulnerable to missiles than von Karstein. You can still see that I turn around and end up routing a whole bunch of the Bretonnian units, and were it not for a couple of their key units left, like these Bowmen, Pegasus Knights, and Bequist, it very well could have turned around and been a victory for me there, even though I didn't deserve it in any tactical sense there, because I got myself completely surrounded, which is honestly kind of the idea of this army. So yeah, I mean, this is just my opinion. Vampires are definitely the best faction in the game, but I showed you this replay because I figured you all would get a kick out of seeing the Death Star get beaten by Bretonnia here. And in this case, the Bretonnian player deserved this. He outplayed me. I did not use my cavalry to the extent that they could have been used. And I made a mistake with von Karstein and left him away from the fight for too long. So in this case, the Bretonnian player definitely earned this one, and I liked his build. I don't think it's going to beat the hit point sponge / Death Star every time, but it has a few tools that help it. The men-at-arms with polearms, this is a good choice. They're going to help hold a long time. Nice defensive stats, nice bonus versus large. The armor piercing won't do anything, but it's good against crypt horrors. And then the bowmen are actually quite useful against crypt horrors as well, dishing damage from a long distance, and with focused fire, you can make them dangerous. The Invocation of Nehek did keep my guys alive, but you saw that in the end, me having to use Invocation of Nehek more often at the beginning of the battle is what allowed these bowmen to be more effective at the end of the battle. They were able to finally kill his unit. Look at this, von Karstein's the only unit left in the battlefield. This guy's an absolute beast. He's going to finally get taken out by Pegasus Knights and Bequist, though, and Bretonnia will be dancing on his corpse in jolly song and dance tonight while they're washing the blood out of their uniforms, no doubt. The nasty, tainted vampire blood. But yeah, no, I hope you all enjoyed this one. Like I said, I wanted to show you this one. I actually played probably like 5 or 6 battles today as the vampires using similar armies each time, and I won all of them but this. And it's not typical for me to go on like a 4 or 5 win winning streak. I'm not that good of a player. The vampires are a very good faction, a very good faction. And like I said, it took a couple of mistakes and some very crafty play here by Joke and Die in order to pull that one off. And I like that he did so. I made sure to tell him nice in the comments because I don't honestly feel good about using these armies online. And I actually kind of was happy and entertained when someone killed me. Anyway, what do you all think? Talk about it in the comments. Like I said, you're free to your opinion, so don't shout someone down if they disagree with you. I think vampires are the best. I think someone would have to be crazy to not think so. But, you know, again, just because I say that doesn't mean that you're not free to think elsewise. And when I say crazy, I don't mean it in like a literal sense, like, oh, you're stupid. No, I'm just saying that to me it seems clear. Discuss it in the comments. Tell me what you think. HeirofCarthage signing out for now, and I will see you all again soon.